Hello, good afternoon. Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Maria Pilar Aguar Fernandez. I will be with you and with my distinguished guest. And I'm happy to see all of you here because without you, our audience, this wouldn't be the same. As you have heard, maybe in the introduction, in our opening session, we're here to listen to your voices. It is important. It is our main goal today. And I'm very happy to be chairing this session on tomorrow's technologies for today's health. Maybe a bit of housekeeping first. This session is web stream, it's live stream, and is recorded. So if any of you wouldn't like to be recorded, just please be seated or move to the back of the room where you could stay in incognito and still be with us. We are going to use Slido. For those of you that have had the opportunity to download the app, you will find that there is a way, and an additional way for us to get your input, for you to give feedback on these matters. And in the Slido, you will find that we have put 3 questions to you that we will repeat here, so we get your feedback for those of you that would not necessarily have the opportunity to speak today. And this is all about co-design. This is all about, as I say, you helping us shaping the impact of Horizon Europe, the next framework program. It is quite important. This is going to shape the next 10 years of our lives. And so please welcome, and let's make this as interactive as possible. I'm just going to take you through a bit the shape and the format of the session. So I will start by introducing the mega trends, the features that we have identified already in this first step of the co-design, in the first step of the open consultation, and then to sparkle, to ignite the debate, I'm going to ask my distinguished speakers today with me. So Guido Rasi, who's the director of the European Medicines Agency, and Martijn Bakker. I'm doing my best here. My Dutch is really poor. He's representing the competent authority in the Netherlands in charge of research on health, and who will be able to give us the perspective of a member state. How do they see this exercise? So as I was mentioning, then later on we will open the floor because we want to hear voices. I will ask you to be extremely short. I don't want to be tough, but I have to. So please stick to the minimum interventions of 2 minutes so we can all have a say, that you can all have a say, that we can together engage in this dialogue. And then at the end of the session, we will do a wrap-up and then take home these first preliminary messages, this kind of preliminary conclusions that will help us shape and continue shaping the co-design process. So I think that with that, I will start just to give you the mega trends, the open consultation, which is still ongoing, and I would urge you, all of you, in reality, not only to go and give us your feedback on that, but also to spread the word, because many of you have an important role. It's not only the role as citizens, as somebody who's already engaged in research in a different manner, in a way or another, but also you have to help us reaching the citizens. That is tremendously important for us. This is the raison d'être of this consultation. So please, don't forget that the open consultation is still open, and it will be so until the 4th of October. So the mega trends that we have already identified of the about 6,000, well, more than 6,000 already people that have replied to our consultation. Well, in general, there is a lot of interest in health. 35% of the people who had replied have said that they are interested in health, and there's a genuine interest and a genuine belief that on the health matters, Horizon Europe can make a difference and will have an important impact. So all the 6 different impacts identified for health are positively seen, and actually out of the 6, the one who is related to this session is the one that is best considered. And again, I think that this is simply just to give you the flavor of what we have identified as mega trends. we will give you, we will have the opportunity to do a more careful analysis when the consultation is closed, and therefore we will evolve then in this co-design process. But I think it's now time for me to stop saying and listen, because this is, as I say, what we are here to do. The people in the Research and Innovation Directorate General came here today to listen to all of you. So maybe I can ask Guido to start with his intervention and give us an idea of what is it's in his mind for today's session.
Well, thank you, Pilar. Thank you for this very innovative initiative, which with the innovation is consistent, also to innovate how we approach a new key program, strategic program for Europe. The co-design, I think, is a tremendously good idea because I understand this inter-institution, inter-community, inter-stakeholder, inter-science, and that is exactly what we need. From my specific standpoint, for the regulators, we are always boring and not entertaining, but I try to say something that can be meaningful. I see three major streams. One is the science, one is the technology, and one are the data. The science, of course, will be hopefully in the hand of the most basic and creative approach from the many researchers and many brilliant researchers we have in Europe. But I think that if we are able to combine, to blend the right combination between science, technology, and data, we can achieve at least five huge goals. Because what we have at stake now is a potential leap, a potential completely change in addressing an important number of diseases in a completely different manner. Science, as I said, we have to really work hard, keep going on the redescription of the diseases. We know that now the molecular description will certainly take over the topographic description of the diseases. Cancer diagnostic has been approved now in Europe, was something not conceivable 5 years ago. So genomic and molecular new finding and new target to realize the personalized, the precision medicine is in the hand of science. Technology, what we can achieve with the technology, basically we need, with technology, we can have a tremendous improvement in the quality of the product. I will not use the term medicines, because medicines are becoming obsolete. We will have procedure, processes, and combination of devices and question marks. So by the 3D printing, for example, the quality of the support for the cell, tissue, organs in the future can be completely different. The drug delivery systems will rely on technologies. And the detection of what is changing our body will rely on technology, which is something that probably will be inserted in our body with what we call the future medicine or product or whatever it will be. Data, of course, and device, and the technology can give us the devices to detect and to generate the data. And I come to the last stream, which are, with the data, we need to really collect them differently. That's why wearable devices, inserted devices, or artificial intelligence to consent also after we collect in a different way, to analyze, to use, to ultimately becoming a cognitive healthcare and an informed decision maker process. Why it's so relevant for regulators? Because we need to interact and to co-decide. We are definitely ignorant of what is coming, and we cannot approve what we don't know, what we don't understand. We need to become more educated, more cultured, more aware of what is coming. But we can also certainly give good direction to the research to understand what do we need to make to generate some evidence by design compliant with the need of putting something in the body of the people. I will not say patient, would be in all of them, in all of us. We are all patients. And we need to understand what is coming, and we need to validate. So that's why this co-decision is mostly welcome. We have to learn a lot, and we can certainly contribute in the direction to see what is need versus what is only commercially driven.
Okay, thank you very much. Martijn.
Yes, I will stand up there.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's a little bit easier to do my presentation. I'm here on behalf of the Netherlands Organization for Health Research and Development, ZONNW, which is the main funder for health research in the Netherlands. So we are a funder as well. So I talk from a funder's perspective. And we fund the entire knowledge chain, so from basic science to nationwide implementation studies. And the money we distribute is primarily from the Ministry of Health in the Netherlands. It's about 85% of our budget, and the rest is from other sources. What the Commission is working on right now is very much in line with our own development of our new strategic plan, which we are building as an organization as well. And it aligns really well with the theme of this session. So, for instance, technology will have a major impact on people's lives, but it will also have a major impact on the system itself. So it will impact the way science is conducted, it will impact how care is provided, it will impact self-management possibilities, so many different ways where technology will have an influence on our lives. And if you think, for instance, about the possibilities of wearables, there's currently a study going on in collaboration with Google to track by a wearable, a smartwatch, how people with Parkinson's disease operate in their daily life. And the purpose of that study is to kind of, filter what is going on and collect data to help improve care for people with Parkinson's disease. But it's also about e-health, about genome sequences, about alternatives for animal models, about organs on a chip, for instance. So many, many different ways of new technologies which we can use. And these new technologies will also develop a lot faster and have more societal impact because there is also an increase in multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research in the way we improve in open science, in access to infrastructures, in public-private partnerships, in artificial intelligence, citizen science. So lots of things kind of connect to the whole area of technology. But ethical issues also need to be addressed. If technology can achieve everything we want, what are the ethical issues which we need to address? Will we pay for expensive technology, for instance, to treat a few people, or do we need the money to actually help a larger group with maybe a smaller impact on people's lives? What I also would like to emphasize is that we don't start from scratch. Even though this is a new topic or a more emphasized topic in Horizon Europe, there's also a lot of experience already. To increase the uptake of new technology, it is essential to build on multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary teams. Because scientists usually deal with what do we know and what do we want to know questions, whereas societal stakeholders more often ask what do we want or what do we need, and these need to be connected. So the focus of my organization is to achieve both scientific as well as societal impact. And we try to broker between policy, practice and research to speed up research and innovation. We have many different projects and programs already going on in this technology area. So we, for instance, fund Innovative Medical Devices Initiative. This is the development of new technologies to keep the healthcare system affordable and sustainable. And so far we have funded 8 centers of research excellence. And they, for instance, deal with topics like minimal invasive techniques, imaging facilities, and home care. But we also have a very different program, which is called Enabling Technologies Hotel. It's a collaboration with the Dutch Tech Center for Life Sciences, but also with the Dutch top sectors on life sciences and health and agriculture and food, and the Netherlands Organization for Science. And the aim of that program is to provide wider access for researchers to high-end technologies and connected expertise and infrastructure. And so far we have funded 155 projects. The 5th call is open right now. And users who have actually got a grant under that program indicate that they have better access to facilities, to technology, and they also keep using this technology after the project is finished. A third, maybe a very important project is dealing with demographic change, so with the aging society. And there's a lot of international collaboration going on already, for instance with the European Union as well, with the JPI More Years Better Lives, but also with active and assisted living, who focus a lot on technology and technology development. So maybe to start off the discussion with you, my wishes for the future in collaboration with the Horizon Europe for this theme would be to build on existing expertise and collaboration, because we need many stakeholders, and those stakeholders do not necessarily know and trust each other. So they might have different aims and they might have different goals, but we need everybody in the system. And if you build on what's already there, it's a lot quicker to achieve progress. Also take the end user perspective into account. This is essential in our opinion, because development of new technology only makes sense if end users also want to use it. Prioritize those topics which might be less appealing for the private sector. You know, there's a lot going on in the private sector already, but we have a lot of public money to spend, and we should provide these funds to what is needed for the public and might be less interesting to private sector. We also need to make the research infrastructure landscape more transparent. There's so many different infrastructures around, and we might need some kind of one-stop shop which makes it a lot easier for researchers to really tap into those kinds of infrastructures which will benefit their research. And finally, I think it is extremely important to take ethical issues into account. So we need to keep reflecting on what we want and how that in fact will affect people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I already have a lot of notes, and I think we have really started well. Maybe now it's time to, let me see if I can put the questions on the screen. Well, this is who we are here. That's me, Pilar Aguar, and it was Guido and Martanje. And so these are the questions that we wanted to put to you just to sparkle the debate. We would like to have your views on these questions. So how should Horizon Europe unlock the full potential? But in particularly, these are the 3 questions that we are putting to all of you. So with this, and let me just get my pen ready. The floor, ladies and gentlemen, is all yours. So I would like to invite you, please, to put up your hands and give us your views and perspective on this. Nobody dares to? Shall I? Oh, first, thank you very much. It's always difficult to be the first one. So could you please state, if you want, who are you, or what type of stakeholder do you represent?
Okay, thank you, Pilar. I come from the bioregion of Catalonia, from BioCat, the life sciences cluster. And I thank you for the opportunity to give some of our insights on how we can unlock the full potential of those tomorrow's technologies for the health value chain. What I find of a special value, and looking ahead for your Horizon Europe, are some of the instruments that we already have in Horizon 2020 in some of the goals. I completely agree with the words that have been said before in this panel, but for example, it's not, under our perspective, not only the problem of having technologies put in contact with the health value chain or having the end users point of view, which is important, but sometimes it is also important to have the opportunity to fund SMEs and fund all the processes for validation. As it was said before in this panel, we have to understand what we are regulating, so we have to learn from the new technologies how to apply them. So it's very important to fund SMEs or to fund the stakeholders to get access to these new processes for validation that are sometimes unexpected and can help the systems to adopt the new technologies, not only understanding the end user, but also helping the systems adopt these technologies.
So regulatory science.
Exactly.
Don't forget regulatory science.
Exactly.
I note that. Who else wants to come up with an idea? Please, the gentleman at the end.
Thank you so much. My name is Francesco Florindi. I work for BBMRI ERIC. We are a research infrastructure funded, created by the European Union and supported by 20 European research ministries. So I particularly appreciate the point made by the colleague from the Netherlands. I see a lot of new technologies, innovation, new things. I think we should start from what has already been established and it's already created, avoid duplications, and most importantly, use the current existing infrastructures. As BBMRI, we are the biobanking infrastructure. We have more than 500 biobanks and 100 million samples. We don't unlock the technologies, we don't create the technologies, but we can improve that. Horizon Europe and all next research policies of the Union should really embrace the big investment that was done in creating BBMRI, EATRIS, ECRE, and all the other research infrastructures. And maybe use the Netherlands example. They're doing a great job in actually bringing them all together under one roof and creating that one-stop shop that could be really beneficial to all researchers, industry and academic. Thanks.
Okay, one-stop shop for infrastructures. Thank you very much. Who wants to give us? Come on. I'm sure we have plenty of interesting people with interesting ideas in here. Please.
Thank you. I'm Patrick Boisseau from Medtech Europe, the European Trade Association of Medical Device and IVD Industry. My comment is on the industrial perspective. I think if we really want to make innovation reach the market, and especially in the domain described so far, and on the Horizon Europe, we have to take, let's say, measures to support first cross-sectorial innovation, because it's no longer under long silos, there's a pharma, medtech, biotech, and so on. And also to consider innovation on all along the value chain. It's not only, let's say, the early stage of research, but if we really want to make it happen and have a real impact, let's say, on the daily life of patients and on the healthcare systems, we have to consider innovation all along the value chain. And for doing that, necessarily, we have to involve the stakeholders. So there again, if there are some, let's say, mechanism under discussion, which would enable, these interactions, first among the sectors and also with the stakeholders, then we could have a real impact on the healthcare systems.
So horizontal and vertical interactions and involving stakeholders, the end users. Good.
Thank you very much. I just have a question about how the funders, as well as the regulator, can cope with transformative innovation, because we're speaking about devices and medicines, but we know in the horizon we have really disruptive innovation coming across, and the legislation which governs the acts of national and European level are not geared for that. They don't have the space for that. So how do funders and regulators anticipate in the future embracing really disruptive innovation? Because we know in the field of health there are upcoming, and we've done this looking at the horizon scanning reports, et cetera, that really are not covered by any of the existing legal tools, legal frameworks. How this can be overcome for the benefit of society?
Good.
a sustainable society.
Keep the microphone.
Yeah.
How should we do that? How should we cover that gap?
Well,
I'm sure you can
well,
bring some ideas in.
of course.
I know. Come on.
Everyone has
Don't
ideas,
be shy.
But I can say what I've been witnessing myself when we came with products which require bedside manipulation and manufacturing for very disruptive, and Carticel everyone knows, but very new and unprecedented products becoming available. And how did we do that? Well, we've been working with the one who actually can see the margins of the legislation. What is the threshold which cannot be bypassed from the legal standpoint? At the same time, working with the patients association, with the companies and the scientists to see risk of doing and risk of not doing. Because of course at the national level, approval of a clinical trial is already quite a major endeavor. And then when the results come across at the European level, for example, for this very disruptive, innovative, how can we work on this? There is no comparison with anything done before, completely new.
So how can Horizon Europe help fill in that gap? Do we have to? How can we really enhance, make that leap, cross that bridge?
I think what I described were good innovation practices.
Good innovation practices.
Yes, look at what the current rules forbid or not forbid. Look at what we know and identify the margins of our knowledge, what we don't know, and how we can get knowledge later on. And risk of doing and not doing. I think conjugating the precautionary approach with the innovation concept at the very beginning should be very early. And well, my experience is that the horizon scanning activities which are in industry are everywhere. Normally in the organizations are seen as sort of visionary, a little maverick, a little, you know, sci-fi. So there is a little bit of uncertainty. But it's that uncertainty we have to work on with the, as I said, regulators, funders, lawyers, and people. Because people should tell us, the people are the final sort of
I see a lot of people advocating for end users engagement up front.
But also academics are end users, because if you leave the academics alone, just in front of the funders, which can be public funders or private funders, the academics alone, they have no choice, really.
Thank you. I think I've seen a hand there. Please.
My name is Joris van Vinkrooy. I was responsible at Medtronic, a medical device company, for e-health 10 years ago. And I have some comments.
Sure.
I think on the level of prevention, there is more activity to do in e-health than on the level of care. Because healthcare or sick care is very conservative at one side, and the big companies and the big organizations, the private players, are very active to keep it like it is. Even at Medtronic, you see that e-health was a small toy to do exercises, and the level of prevention is more useful to prove technologies. For example, I think when we can see the e-health technologies like a drug, and we can prove the e-health performance against the normal performance of the healthcare. For example, you take a psychiatrist who is doing 20 sessions, or you do an e-health tool when you are talking to the computer and look to the difference in outcome. Then you can talk about results and a framework, and you can talk about reimbursement. And what I learned in 4 years medical e-health in Medtronic is when there is no reimbursement, the physician will not be encouraged to support the technology. The patient will not be encouraged to pay out of the pocket to have the technology. And it's difficult to make a difference. So I think when big players like insurance companies see there is a huge impact when you use e-health with better results than the classical therapy, then you can make a reimbursement case. And then you can make healthcare cheaper, and then e-health as a goal. And to finish it, I'm now on the head of a company which is called Royal Doctors. We do for big insurance companies like Achmea plenty of second opinions on remote distance basis. And when we can improve better results than when patients is traveling to hospitals and talking to doctors, and it's all about money and comfort and quality of life. When you can make a case in money, then insurance companies are interested to talk about it. And when you cannot make the case, it's difficult. But I like the point of the lady about disruption, and I don't like it's black and white. But I don't like when the companies who are acting now in healthcare, they will not make the disruption. I think they will keep it like it is. When you ask to the taxi association in New York to do something disruptive, they will not come with Uber. They will keep it like it is. Mm-hmm. And being disruptive in healthcare is very difficult. So I hope to encourage everybody willing disruptive in healthcare. But the ethical part, and that is really important, the ethical part is crucial, because who is doing what with the data, and it's not always what it likes to be, and that's very dangerous too.
Thank you very much. You can pass the microphone to your...
Thank you. I'm
yes.
Jorge González. I'm the director of Tbmr. We are a Spanish cluster that we work a lot with small and medium enterprises and startups in digital health. And for me, a wish for Horizon Europe is that it will make more stress on adoption of the innovation. So
adoption of the innovation.
Yeah, I think that in Europe we are very good in piloting innovation, in delivering technology. That's not the problem. The problem is that what happens after the project, the European funded project, for example, the RIA, the IA, is successful. Mm-hmm. What happened with the customers, the hospitals, the potential buyers? Do they follow up and adopt and scale the technology? In our experience, if I may.
Sure. Go ahead.
It doesn't happen. So
how can we address that point that you're making? How can we enhance the uptake of innovation?
I have 3 suggestions. First, in the call, make it explicit that the ones that give the most commitment to adoption will get the project. So make it competitive. Don't say how. Don't say how.
We're talking about a different level now. We are talking about the consultation, the open, the co-design at a much larger level. But okay.
But I know. But still, you at the end of the day, you have to go to granular level as well. So state it, like all the landscapes know that if you commit to adopt, if the results are successful, you will have more chances to get the money. Okay? Then have evaluators to credibly evaluate if that is credible or not, that commitment. And then follow up in the project to see people are really adopting or not.
Okay. Let me make a point. We have two open consultations. We also have the open consultation on the implementation of the framework program. And there you have questions. In that particular open consultation, you have questions on evaluation, you have questions on the call, you have a number of questions. Maybe you want to address these points in this open consultation too.
I already did.
Perfect. There is a lady at the back that also wanted to intervene.
Yes. Yes, my name is Shayeste Fursaladani. One of my roles is I'm the president of the Industry Association MedTech Pharma platform, which is the only association focusing on the combined use of drugs with devices, software, companion diagnostic, which will also not be addressed with the new MDR or IVDR. We will still have a gap in regulatory gap. And I like very much, the comments from Professor Razi that the regulators need really also to learn the new technologies. And we as an association, our members include Novartis, Sanofi, Edwards, Philips, and we are very much interested to have more interaction with EMEA to really exchange and also share our expertise, and also the members' needs. So I would really highly welcome to have closer interaction.
Okay, good. Excellent. At the back.
Thank you,
yes.
Mrs. Chair. Good evening, citizens. My name is Angelos Harlaftis, Epaphos Advisors. I represent here a community of laboratories and universities about aging and DNA. We are trying to research aging and DNA. So the problem we have, as it was discussed 10, 15 days ago at DG Connect with the photo health instruments community, which are researchers in Europe, best researchers in Europe, it was that there is a lot of administrative burden One. Second, the data are not secured. Our data are not secured because I propose personally the Senate, the European Internet, in order to have a secure data. Otherwise, there is no security for us, the Europeans. So the solution is how we can stop the bureaucracy, which puts a lot of obstacles to the researchers when they have something innovative. The Americans, they were on the nearby and they were getting our researchers. So this is a big problem for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Pasi Kallio from Tampere University, Finland. I have a specific comment on the position paper, if you allow, so which is from June, and there is chapter 5, which is new tools and technology. So I think data is important, as we all know. But now when I read the text there, I think it focuses too much on how to analyze the data. I think we need to focus also how to create data in new ways from us people, how we measure. But also, as was mentioned in the beginning, we need new platforms like Organ-on-Chip and how we can generate data from those platforms so that we can have new things to analyze. We cannot develop new methods to analyze old data. So this is just a comment on the position paper.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Hello. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Stefano Benvenuti from Fondazione Teleton Italy. We are a charity that funds research on rare genetic diseases. And my point is especially on access to new therapies. So we know that there are new therapies coming. I think we need to really invest on these new therapies to have some new therapies developed in Europe instead of just buying them from the US. That's the first point, because at the end of the day, patients will ask for these new therapies that comes to Europe. So if they are developed in Europe, they can bring something back to the economic environment of Europe. Otherwise, we're just payers. So we can decide whether to be players because we have the academic environment to develop these therapies, or be just payers. On one side. On the other, the point is that I think we need more research on the innovative models for paying these new advanced therapies, because we know that this cannot be, some of them cannot be distributed in all corners of Europe. So we need some centralized healthcare points where patients have to move, and the movement of patients, for example, more often is not reimbursed. So patients have to move on their own cost, which limits access to these therapies. Then we have problems with the knowing in advance for those who develop the therapies what the value and the price they could get. And this is also stopping investment because there is too much uncertainty on whether we will reach the market, how long it will take, how long will be the burden of negotiating the price with the payers, and what the final price we will get. And this is really stopping investment. So we need much more research on that part of.
Thank you very much. Just to recall, maybe you haven't seen it, in our program there are 2 sessions related to healthcare, the healthcare models of the future. How can we, in the framework program, address that point? It's not simply just for your information. If you are here tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, we invite you to go there. I'm sorry, but there are a lot of people that want to intervene. I also would like to invite you at the end of the session, if you have still questions for us, if you want to give us your opinion, please make sure that you go to the booth number 9, where this cluster for health is, and we will be very happy to take your comments, the comments that you haven't been able to make. And as I say, also for Slido, don't forget that we have these 3 questions for you. Please make sure that your voice is heard there too. There was some questions here.
Thank you. My name is Casper Gerels. I'm working at Philips. I want to react to 2 people. The gentleman over here, because the Medtronic example, although it's 10 years ago, is still illustrative. So I work at Philips. If I look to e-health, we have a very successful business model in the United States. That has to do because it's one big homogeneous market. If we look, of course, to the EC, there we have a problem. So I just want to make the point, this is about scale. And then I would like to refer to the gentleman here at the left side. because it's very important in moving forward with regard to innovation that we much more closely work together. So we have, for instance, IMI at this very moment, that we have discussion about extending that to medtech and other sectors. It's very important that we break down silos and that we work together in a really collaborative way. And I'm just making this point because as a company, we have a lot of experience with an Excel and Horizon 2020, even the Eureka network, and we see it can work very well. So I encourage you to continue this way.
Thank you very much. There is a gentleman there that is aching to intervene.
Hello, Michele Calabro from European Health Management Association. Just a quick comment, actually linked to the second question. I think one potential solution or one part of the solution would be to dedicate more research to health systems and the services processes, because we're talking a lot about innovation, we're talking a lot about data, but what about the health systems we are in? If they're not ready to welcome this innovation from like many points of view, from health workforce able to use innovation, so digital skills, to paying system that was raised before. If we do not do enough research, I think, on the systems, innovation will sort of need to fit in. We're kind of missing a point, and I think that's the point of uptaking and transferring innovation between.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. As I say, I'm happy to hear that, and I would like to invite you to make these comments or make these points in the sessions related to healthcare, because this is indeed one of the questions that we are going to, again, put. How can we really force the uptake? How can we enhance? How can we be more successful at the uptake of the innovation? We all agree that there is a lot of good science in Europe, and in the medical health technologies, the health domain, we have a lot. We are doing a lot. How can we do it better? How can we reach better our citizens?
I just have one comment. I'm from the Norwegian Center for E-Health Research. My name is Anne. I have a group in Norway who are working with electronic phenotyping. So it has to do with, it's also called digital phenotyping. It has to do with the data, that you combine a lot of data from different sources and use these algorithms for being able to predict the future if there is a risk for kind of any health issues. So I think that's an important point also, to think about the methods you use. We have the technology, we have the data, but it's maybe interesting to combine all of the information we have.
Better combine them. How can we do that? Where should we invest resources? How can we make this happen?
It is that you in the call write that there is needed more knowledge in the field, because it's a lot of knowledge in this field, especially in US, but it's not taken out to the hospitals, especially in genomics and individualized medicine. But there is also a need in Europe to do the same and being able to look at that kind of methods. How can you use it? Okay. Because there is a capacity and there is data, but it's kind of a very complicated thing. And not only think about the infrastructure and that, we need the basic knowledge in Europe as well.
Basic knowledge. Okay, good. Please.
I am Stuart Anderson from University of Edinburgh. I established the Digital Health and Care Innovation Centre there. I think if you want to see innovation, I think you have to disrupt to some extent, and I think you already have that in the programme, because I think the sustainability of health systems is a very important driver. Both the economic sustainability, because we're seeing unsustainable rises in cost, but also using circular economy ideas, because we generate huge amounts of waste, massive amounts of very difficult to handle waste. And those things could change, and those things really would represent a significant shift in the sustainability of health systems. The other thing I think it would do is it would really put an emphasis on prevention, because 80% of costs in health systems come from chronic disease, and a lot of chronic disease has behavioral origins. And actually, we're looking at a very small portion, typically, when we look at treatment. Because, if you like, the piece of the iceberg, which is below the water, is actually the mundane, everyday caring for people who have chronic disorders. And I think looking at the sustainability and looking at how we do prevention would really make a significant difference. And shifting would make that difference.
For those of you that cannot see, I see a lot of nodding around, so I think that your prevention has resonated with a number of people in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Kathleen Dont. I work for the Flemish Government Department, Economy, Science and Innovation. And I just wanted to point out how to enhance the uptake of novel technologies. There's currently a news issue on in the Flemish newspapers on how it is enforced just because of the public awareness, in this case of rare disease. And I think that the awareness and training and educating just the public on what is available, on what is possible, is clearly showing that people are demanding then that their authorities should provide the technologies that are available. So I think that should be also a strong part.
Thank you very much, Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Marie Vidal from the Lifetime Initiative, and we are currently drafting a roadmap that will hopefully help to answer some of these questions. So I would advise to look at this roadmap when we deliver it. But one key point, I think I second my neighbor in terms of data. I think it's great to look for other ways to analyze available data. We have to build on what is already available, but we also need to apply these new technologies that generate new data that can really make a bigger impact, that can help to understand disease mechanisms and really achieve a great impact and help to apply artificial intelligence, for instance, on AI-worthy data and data that can really make a difference.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your intervention. We are slowly coming to the end of our session, and I would like to invite the audience to maybe a last intervention. Please don't be shy. World is looking at us. We're live stream. Please, somebody who's not shy, please, can I have a microphone?
This is just a follow-up on what I had to say earlier. I think the role of regulation is absolutely essential in shifting towards sustainable healthcare. Okay. And actually the role of the regulator the role of anticipatory regulation that actually anticipates the development and actually goes alongside would be something that would really make Horizon Europe distinctive from the previous framework programs. Because at the moment it looks so much like a very small development. But I think seeing policy and regulation really playing a major role in a complementary way to the move towards sustainability would make a big difference in health.
Proactivity in regulation. Thank you. I think there's one very last intervention there.
Thank you very much. I'm Mireia Loinaz. I'm coordinator of one of the open innovation testbeds on medical devices. I agree also on this, you mentioned before, on this single entry point. But I will think also on specialization. I think that this testbed could be too broad. And I would think on nodes on very interdisciplinary teams, but in a specialization. I think that the field of health or medical devices is too broad, technology is too broad, and we should bring nodes on a specialization in different teams, but to try to translation and focus the efforts by different areas. That could be one possibility.
Thank you very much. So it's been a really fruitful session. Maybe it's time to wrap up. And I would like to invite our speakers, basically to, having heard so many different interventions with so many points, what would be your take-home message if tomorrow you're having coffee and you tell the colleagues what it was, the main outcome, what did you learn, what are in your view, the preliminary conclusions, the more messages that have resonated with you? Maybe Martijn.
Well, lots on the regulation side, but I'll keep that to you because that's your area. I think in my opinion, a lot of support also for the comments I made myself. I really like the emphasis on prevention. I'm a health scientist from my background, so prevention is my area, and I think about everything we spend on healthcare should go into prevention. I think it will save a lot of money in the end. I think also I think what you mentioned, how do you embrace disruptive innovation? What can you do from a funder's perspective? I think what we try to do is involve stakeholders, all relevant stakeholders, as soon as possible. We as funders won't change the system in a way, but we are just, we have our specific spot in the system, so we need to identify who we need to, make disruptive innovation happen. We, for instance, fund high risk, high gain research because to make disruptive innovation possible, but also then to tap into what's coming out of that and make it happen in a way. I think there's a lot about adoption of innovation. So not just innovation itself, but how can we actually bring it to the market? And we need to collaborate with SMEs, with parties like Philips, for instance. I think also support for build on what is already in the system and how can we bring that further. The role of regulation is essential. And since EMA is moving, or it has moved to the Netherlands, the building is not ready yet. We also look forward to collaborate more with EMA. And there's a project or a program under development to do that. So,
okay. Thank you very much. Guido.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I think I was focusing on finding my own solution, but I was happy that exactly what I was looking for has been said. Trying to summarize, because a lot of messages, but the key message is technologies. I understand my take-home message is to focus on technologies that enable us to have to collect the most reliable data and to have a possibility to analyze them. So I will focus and give an effort to have technology that basically give us back reliable data, reuse and usable data for many communities. And this, I understand, will enable at any level for the patient outcome, which is the most important, so the performance of the new therapy, to collect those data. Those data will be used for the science to further improve, for the regulator to be convinced or refine the opinion that the authorization and the indication that has been released, the payer to be sure about the performance of what he's paying for. So data at large and technology that support this, I think, is one of the key elements that's emerging from here. The other important, the other two, basically, has been addressed to myself with two clear messages. We need to involve the end user to be sure that we can eventually exploit and use that. And we have to concomitantly have a parallel reflection and discussion on many streams. One is how the healthcare system will absorb and adapt and evolve to incorporate this, how the legislation and the regulation can really be ready to, one, support, and second, first understand, then accept and validate and give an opinion, and therefore to support eventually the innovation, support to intercept the benefit of the innovation, because the final goal is not to have an innovation for the sake of it, but to benefit from what the innovation is saying, and to concomitantly develop methods to have a sustainability. We have sometime in a difficult conversation with the HTA bodies and the payer, because we cannot give them the evidence they want. We wish we could, both to have the tools and to have the power to do that. But ultimately, if they don't develop their own methodology, we can develop a methodology to approve everything, but they will never afford it. So this dialogue should go in parallel. Meanwhile, technology and science are going at a different pace of regulation, which is going still at a faster pace than the decision maker, the legislation. And it's unavoidable, but this dialogue should be reconciled earlier by design.
Okay, thank you very much. Distinguished guest, I think that when I read again our questions, we have focused most of our discussion on the last two, but I feel, I don't want to say we neglected the first one, but we definitely talk a bit less. So please help us also on that matter. As I say, for the Slido, you will have the three questions, and you're very welcome to give us your impressions on that part. For me, I think that, well, I've taken a lot of notes. If I can also kind of now recap and have a first list of preliminary, very, very preliminary ideas. I have heard a lot about convergence of technologies and products, convergence of products and systems, convergence of sectors, convergence of stakeholders. We need this convergence to make a qualitative, really, and definitely leap up front. We can't stay as we were, and this convergence harnesses the potential of the data, harnessing the potential of the infrastructure, build on the personalized, the potential of personalized medicine, without neglecting other things such as ethics, such as safety or of data that was mentioned, or security of data that was also mentioned, evidence by design, cognitive healthcare. I noted that. I like that. That was a new thing for me. Evidence by design, as I say, uptake, aging. So bearing in mind what is our stakeholder, specialization, but at the end also integration and interdisciplinarity. We have still, as I say, a lot of work to do. I would like again to invite you to give us more and more feedback. The more, the better for us. And I think that I only want to just thank you all, everybody that has contributed, everybody that will contribute, and everybody that has been here in this very fruitful session. Thank you very much. Your feedback is important, it's crucial for us. And with this, I think that I would say that we can conclude. Thank you all for your participation.